As you can see, I'm not a professional. I don't have a studio, and I don't have a really nice camera. I have what I have. I've sold my truck to buy these signs. That's why I have these nice signs, because I sold my truck. I really don't have a vehicle right now. That's the truth. If it wasn't for my girlfriend, I wouldn't have any transportation. I thank her very much. She's a blessing to me. I love her dearly, but it's causing issues with us because all my money goes into the tar sand exposing Enbridge cover-up. I have spent everything. I've sold pretty much everything I own. I mean, I've spent about $35,000 already, and I've bought these sweatshirts and t-shirts and gave them away for free. I just gave away about $5,000 worth of stuff at the DC rally, between sweatshirts and t-shirts and signs and bumper stickers, and it's expensive. Very, very expensive to do what I'm doing. I need to go meet with some scientists. I want to make a documentary about this, and I will put a lot of my videos together. And I want to prove what is up with tar sand oil. Tar sand oil is much more toxic than your normal conventional oil. And if you watch a lot of my other videos, you'll learn more about that. So I'll keep this brief. But the video you're about ready to see is an environmental inspector. He's got the credentials, and he cleaned up oil as an oil worker on the spill. He knows when oil is being covered up. He knows the proper ways to clean it up. He knows when they're lying about the evacuation and the distance of the evacuation. He knows that they've changed the flags because I was proven that areas were full of oil that they said were clean, and they changed the colors of the flags because I proved them wrong. And so he just got to understand, he makes about $5 grand a week. It's taken me 2 years for him to come forward and actually do this video with me. I've begged him and begged him. I've probably pissed him off because I've asked him so many times. He finally came forward and he's doing this. Why? Because he's seen my videos. He watches them, and he knows everything that I'm saying is really happening in the sick people. That's really what's getting him to come forward, is the sick people. So he's risking, you know, $150,000 to $200,000 a year job for the rest of his career to come forward and do this video. That's how important this video is. It might be long, but you have to watch it if you want any justice for these sick people. If you need to pass this video around, you need to learn what he has to say. It's the truth. This is what's really going on. I don't like sitting around and watching an hour-long video either, but I don't want to edit this and cut things out. I want you to hear the whole thing. Now, when I make a documentary, I will actually cut it up and use small pieces, okay? I will do that. I'll make that exciting. When I get funding to do that, I will. And that's another thing. I need to get a better camera. I need to go meet with some scientists and politicians. And I need to take a lot of my videos, and it's going to take a lot of time to make a video like Gasland, where you can see about tar sand oil. And the reason why it's so important is because you don't want the XL pipeline to go through, or the Northern Gateway pipeline to go through. And this is what people aren't telling you about. Enbridge is backdooring a pipeline all the way to Texas. So even if they don't put the XL pipeline through, they're still getting that tar sand oil to Texas, but they're going through Enbridge. So for 350.org and Sierra Club not to talk about Enbridge, it doesn't make sense to me, because they're already taking oil, tar sand oil, down to Texas right now for export. China owns a majority of the tar sands, trillions of dollars worth of tar sands, and they own a majority of TransCanada, which wants to build this pipeline. This oil is not for the United States. It's not for us to tax. It's not for us to make money on it. It's not for us to put in our gas tank. It's going to China. Alright? China owns it. It's theirs. They just got to get it there. They're using you in our country to do that. And they're going to be using Canada, if they actually put that Northern Gateway pipeline through, which is going to be in Enbridge. Enbridge and TransCanada right now are fighting each other. Who can get the tar sand oil out first to China? Because whoever does is going to make trillions of dollars in profits. That's why they have all this publicity about how great they are, how wonderful everything is. They can't weld these pipes properly. There's already been whistleblowers coming forward saying that. They've actually just proven that there's pinholes in the welds down in Texas. And they're burying this pipe with the pinholes. And this is what a lot of people don't know. They are allowed to leak every single day thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals legally. Alright? Now, the reason why I say legally is because no one will ever know about it unless the alarm goes off. The alarms won't go off unless you have between 1.5% and 2% loss of pressure. Alright? So that could be thousands of gallons every single day can leak out of that entire pipeline, and they will never have an alarm go off. So no one will ever know that there's anything leaking in their wells, and their kids are going to be drinking it, and you're going to be swimming in it. It's going to happen. If you have one leak in that aquifer, you lost 30% of the United States water. And what do we got to gain from it? A few union workers that get jobs for a year or two. I'm a union worker. I'm an unemployed union worker. I make a lot of money when I am working. I will not work for a tar sand job. It's that bad. Alright? I would rather be poor than work for a tar sand job. What is your name, please?
James Bleep Bleep.
Well, James doesn't want everybody to know who he is because
implicating factors. But anyhow, we're just going to get right to our main topic here of Enbridge's impact on my hometown, actually, Michigan.
What's your qualifications? Can you let everybody know what you're qualified in?
My past history, I've been a environmental foreman, which I installed environmental control devices in various areas of wetlands and protected wetlands, and ensured wetlands weren't impacted by our construction when we were installing pipe. And then I went on to be an environmental inspector for a company, which then I actually gave permission to what I used to do as a foreman. I gave permission to the construction foremans in the environmental to go ahead and use land if they needed, or make variances to use certain areas of maybe environmentally impacted areas. But I mean, for the most part, I've been indulged in environmental areas, all parts of it. So as far as that goes.
So you're an environmental inspector. That's what the term of your qualification is.
Also known as an EI.
As an EI. And do you know how to clean up oil properly?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Have you been trained in that?
Yeah.
So everybody knows we're in Florida right now, over by Orlando. I actually had to drive down here for this interview. Jim used to work on the oil spill in Michigan in 2010, and I wanted to do this interview really bad because he's an environmental inspector. He knows the proper ways to clean up oil, and I just wanted to get his side of the story of what happened during the cleanup process. Can you tell me about you working at the Enbridge spill?
Yeah, well, we started out at doing submerged oil recovery, which when we started out it seemed pretty thorough. I mean, it got to where it got to be a hurry up and make it look good on paper type situation, where in the beginning, time wasn't the essence, and we could actually get a good thorough cleaning. And then it slowly became where it was more of a look good on paper type show, to where like I'd seen in earlier recordings where they were talking about changing out booms. But I think the real reason for changing out the white booms when they got dirty was because we got a call ahead of time saying, hey, there's a helicopter coming over with maybe EPA or somebody that's in direct contact with the cleanup efforts. They want to see it look good, so therefore we had to hurry up and bust butt and change out all this boom so it's all nice and shiny white. So they said, oh look, they got all that cleaned up, now we can move on to section blah blah blah, which in fact the sections we were working on in that area to my knowledge, wasn't totally thoroughly clean. I mean, there's submerged oil all over the place, and we got to areas later on that it was pretty much just blow through it, put your wands in the water, shake the water up, make it look like you're doing something. We can write it down on paper, and then, you know, we'll move on to the next section. Well, it was about lunchtime one day. We were out there close to the end of our run, and we were cleaning an area at the there's a big dump out where it dumps into a lake. I don't recall the name of that lake there. What was it?
You have Ceresco, you have Morrow Lake.
Morrow Lake.
Morrow Lake.
The end area. But anyhow, off on the one side by where the houses were, there's kind of semi-deep areas to where we started on right before lunch, and we were turning up stuff like, wow, this is nasty. Well, somehow in between us going to lunch and coming back, magically we must have kicked butt in the 20 minutes we actually touched it, because they said, oh, okay, well, that's good, we're moving on. And all the employees we kind of looked at each other like, we just got here, and no, there's definitely oil here, and we've turned it up. And it was about 12 foot of water, so I mean, it was kind of tough getting at it, because the weather was getting a little colder too. It started to get more dense, and it didn't want to float as easy. So I mean, you had to work it real good to get it up, but we all knew there was more there. But I mean, like I said, it was more of a make it look good on paper, like we're knocking these areas out real fast, you know. I mean, we're getting them cleaned out so they can write it down. Look, we got this section, this section, this section done. So everybody thinks, you know, we're doing such a swell job out there. But in reality, it wasn't. It was just a skim over. That's all it was. It was just a horse and pony skim over.
If you would have complained, what would have happened to you?
I don't know. I never complained. So possibly they didn't need you anymore, because there was 50 guys in line to take your job, so you were basically but a number anyhow.
Now, you told me once about an area by the trailers where I actually made a complaint, and you guys the next day were told to go clean up an area that I complained about, and you had a scooper.
Oh, it was on a, like a front bucket loader type deal.
Can you tell me about that?
I was scratching the ground, and I was getting into some thick oil, and it was winter time, granted, so the oil was, you know, it was pretty hard. Well, I got to scraping into it, and I could have dug, you know, 6 to 8 inches, but they just wanted us to skim off the top of it and just, you know, get what we could get. But I was in this one area, and I just kept scraping and scraping, and just kept seeing the black tar, and just kept trying to get it, and you know, they didn't want any gouge or anything like that, which I exclaimed that, you know, it's still pretty good in there. Well, they was like, oh, just get what you can get right quick, and let's keep going and find some more. So basically that area was left. But
so they didn't want you to clean up this area of oil?
Well, they wanted us to do it, but they want us to do it in a timely fashion, not necessarily quality, but they wanted the quantity. They wanted to bust it out to add another list to their line of work to say they had it done. But like I said, it turned into more of a time material type deal, to where it was like, you know, just hit it, okay, we were there, then they come in and EPA, in my opinion, half-assed a check and said, all right, I don't know if they were getting extra steak dinners out of the deal or what happened, but they were definitely turning their heads to a lot of stuff that was going on, to where, you know, and I thought their branch of government there, they were, you know, serious about their jobs. But to the way I seen it, anybody can be bought, I guess.
So you think the EPA possibly could have been bought with the catered lunches that we saw them have, taking them out to dinner at night, taking them to the bars? Do you think that's a possibility?
Let me tell you, when I was an EI,
environmental inspector,
that stuff helped.
Why? What special treatment did you get when you're environmental inspector?
Well, I mean, you get there's a whole lot of ass kissing goes on, and they want to make sure that you're happy, and that they can do everything they can to make you happy, to where the one day you need to maybe turn the blind eye, that, you know, you might do it for them. To which I was lenient out there, but if it, you know, as far as impacting the environment, I was pretty firm. So they didn't get away with a lot of stuff when I did my job. I mean, as far as the EPA goes on that cleanup job, I don't feel that any of them worked up to their oath of, you know, protecting the environment. It's like I've seen a lot that goes on out there, you know, as far as snubbing goes, and lying and saying this, no, this ain't right and this ain't happening. But like I said, I mean, when it comes down to it, reality is reality, and common sense is common sense. And if people that watch these videos and knows about tar sands oil, or even the effects of any kind of foreign chemical like that, doesn't realize the hazardous impacts of it, I mean, maybe you need to be more educated. Maybe, you know, you're not opening it up and seeing all sides of everything, because I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this stuff's horrible. The stuff they use to sink the stuff has already been banned in several countries. It's horrible. Everything about it's horrible. And when you have a disaster like that, it shouldn't be, as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be how much you can not have to pay out. It should be, you know, in the beginning it should be prevention measures. You should have preventative measures in place to where it doesn't happen. You should learn from all this and make it, you know, use technology today to, regardless if it costs a few more dollars. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive to go through, you know, certain areas of to ensure it's not going to happen. But, you know, maybe they don't want to pay that. Well, maybe if you pay millions of dollars when you do have a spill, opposed to paying just a couple million to prevent a spill, you might use your head one day. But anyways, like I said, it doesn't take a real genius to realize the impacts of these chemicals and the tar sands oils, and typically any oil. I mean, it's a, you know, matter that comes from the earth, granted, but it was down there for a reason. It's not up here to be inhaled, and, you know, everybody have to deal with it on a first-hand basis. Well,
so you've seen a lot of videos where people are sick in our community, where in Michigan, where we grew up.
All right, direct effects.
And tell me, I mean, do you believe what you're seeing?
Well, yeah, I mean, these people aren't, you know, a bunch of con artists or anything like that. They're just normal people, everyday people like me and you that, you know, and people don't realize that these things can happen until it happens to you or it happens to your family member. You know, it hits real close to home. That's like anything, you know. I mean, they say don't ride a motorcycle without a helmet because you could get hurt. Oh, that doesn't happen. Well, when somebody in your family gets hurt doing that, then you realize, oh, you know, it hit close to home, and you start believing it. Just like people getting affected by tar sands oil and stuff that leaked over there. You know, it hit close to home, and now, well, wait a minute, you know. But these people are regular, everyday people. They're not out to, you know, get praise. Hell, some of them don't even want to be filmed or anything. They don't want nothing to do with it, but they just want to say, hey, yeah, we were affected too, you know. And it's not a lie. It's not like people are making this stuff up. And like I said, there's proven documents stating that chemicals to even help that stuff along in the pipes is extremely, you know, hazardous. To my recollection, it was just a half-assed job, and flat out. And there's no two ways about it. You know.
Do you think Enbridge themselves were a part of making sure that it wasn't cleaned up properly?
Well, I don't know that they wanted to make sure it wasn't cleaned up properly, but they didn't want to pay such and such amount more every single day that you were out there cleaning it up. So the faster they could get it wrote down that they went to a site and they cleaned it up and everybody signed off on it, the faster they could get out of there and the faster they could quit spending money.
And so when I videotape these areas being full of oil, take them back out there.
It's amazing how they didn't believe what you were saying, and I heard some guys saying, oh, that's mud on his hands. I personally know what tar sands oil does when it sticks to a glove, and I know it doesn't come off, and I know if you stick your hands down in it and you lift them up and you rinse them in water and it's still there, mud will come off and that stuff doesn't come off. And I just laughed when I thought that this guy's really trying to say that that's not tar sands oil you had on your gloves. I mean, come on. You know, apparently he doesn't know what it is, and he's never been out there in it, because that guy was just full. I couldn't believe he sat there and tried to say that that wasn't tar sand oil. I know for a fact there's tar sand oil still out there. I've seen it. I've been told to walk by it. You know, it's fine. It's not enough. Granted, the environment take care of itself to a sense, but you just can't overload it and expect Mother Nature to come out of that hole, because it's not physically possible.
What do you think about the threats that I've had, the death threats, slash tires, cut brakes? What's your opinion of all that?
Well, I mean, it's wrong, and I knew it was probably going to happen, because when you deal with big companies like that and then people that are affected, you know, by their pocketbook, you know, such certain foremen, certain inspectors, certain people that, you know, if you're out there causing a stink and it's going to get into their pocketbooks, they're going to get a little upset and, you know, try to come after you a little bit. And they tried to run you off, and you're stronger than that, and you weren't going for it, and hopefully they realize you're not going to go away, and, you know, you're going to really get this out there and get people to realize, you know, the impact this stuff has. You know,
historic Marshall, Michigan has long been known as a fountain of old world charm, but now it's stuck in a river of trouble.
The full creek was solid, packed full of oil.
Solid. On the morning of July 26, part of the world's longest petroleum pipeline, stretching 1,900 miles between the U.S. and Canada, ruptured. pouring at least 800,000 gallons of crude into the waterways surrounding this scenic town, fouling the air with a noxious odor, threatening the water, and as seen in this home video, drenching local wildlife. Now that mess has turned into another one. The Canadian energy giant that owns the pipeline, Enbridge, is accused of deceptive tactics by dozens of homeowners affected by the spill.
They don't know what they're signing, and they sign away a lot of their rights if they don't know what they're signing.
In a joint investigation with the Center for Public Integrity, CBS News obtained these two documents. One is this settlement form. Some residents claim the company coerced them to sign it for a $300 air purifier and some evacuation expenses, in exchange releasing Enbridge from and against all liability, claims, and actions. The company disputes that. The other document was this release form, allowing Enbridge access to any and all medical records, one that had to be signed, residents claim, before Enbridge would pay for a visit to a clinic. Residents in this mobile home park charged they were deceived by Enbridge.
It was more or less sign your name here and, you know, you're done.
Now the company's alleged actions have the head of a powerful congressional committee outraged.
This is exploitation of unknowing and unskilled people who've never had to face a situation like this before.
Terry Larson is a spokesperson for Enbridge.
Why in the world would you ask people of this community to sign those forms?
They're standard forms. There's nothing abnormal about those forms.
But the federal government says there's nothing standard about them, expressing concern in this letter that Enbridge's medical form authorized the disclosure of an inappropriately broad amount of medical information.
Are you familiar with the word that the Department of Health and Human Services used in conjunction with that form?
No.
Deplorable. That's the word they used. Mm-hmm. And what do you say to that?
Again, it's a standard form. I mean,
Well, when the spill first happened, they were trying to get people to sign off their rights for air purifier, for air conditioner, for a couple $100. What's your opinion on all that?
Equipment that come in that quit working a day later, and then they brought them another of the same thing that quit working 2 days later. So,
but they signed off their rights when they accepted this stuff. What do you think about that?
I don't think that they were told exactly what they were signing. If you ask me, it was just something they made up here. Yeah, this is all this entails. Just, you know, and most people on documents, even when you buy a car, you don't read everything. You don't read the fine print. You just assume that the person presenting it to you in a professional manner is going to be truthful with you, which these people did too. And you know, come to find out, I got hornswoggled. I mean, there's no two ways about it.
So, do you believe, in your personal opinion, that Enbridge lied to a lot of people?
Oh, they always lie. It's just corporate America, man. That's what they do. To get their way, if they got to lie to get there, that's what they do. I mean, a lot of people realize that. I mean, people that aren't ever subject to that situation won't ever know. But I mean, me personally, I know how it goes. I've been there. I've firsthand seen them lying to people. So.
Now, what do you think about what I'm doing?
Oh, I take my hat off to you, because, like I said, you're spending all your own money. You know, you're spending all your own time. I don't know how you do it, but I mean, I commend you for getting this out, because I mean, you're truly, you truly have heart to where, you feel for these people, and that's your drive. You know, everybody that's affected by it is your drive and your motive, and you're not driven by any other motive. Which, like I said, there's not many people out there that do that, and then put their own lives in jeopardy. And when you go up against corporate America like that, and these big oil companies, I mean, you can disappear in a matter of minutes, and they can do it in a way that nobody will ever know, and that's a chance you're taking, and you're willing to take that chance to help these people out, which, like I said, I commend you greatly.
Do you think the videos that I've been producing is showing the facts?
Yeah, you got some in-depth stuff. I'm reluctant to watch sometimes when you call me, but then I go to look at it, and it's just like, wow, I didn't know that. I like it. I mean, you got some pretty detailed info out there. Excuse me.
Well, what do you think? Out of seeing, you've seen probably a quarter of my videos. What do you think is some of the ones that impact you the most, that just make you go, wow, I can't believe it?
I think it's the sick people is probably top of the list, and then the spots you find that they just wrote off that were clean, that were never clean. I mean, that's another one on top of the list. It's amazing how, I mean, you're there to do it, you're getting paid to do it, And you know, to me, it's been, you know, I worked in shops most of my life, and it's always been RFT, right the first time. So you don't have any backlash. You don't have to go back in 10, 20 minutes or, you know, 2 days, 3 days, what have you, and work on the same thing again. If you're there to do it anyhow, and you're getting paid to do it, and you're trained to do it a certain way, you know, why deviate from that? Why not just do it the right way and do it right the first time? I don't know. It boggles me sometimes how, you know, corporate can just, you know, I don't know, influence ill repute behavior, I guess is the way to put it. I don't know. There's no other way about it. When you have somebody there to do a certain job, but yet they were trained to do a job a certain way, but yet you want to tell them, no, do it like this. Well, it's not the way you were trained to do it. It's not an effective way to do it, and then they want to show you an inadequate way to do it, so it all looks good on paper. I mean, and that's it too. It's the bottom line. It's how fast you can get it done, and regardless if you really cleaned it or not, they seen you were there, they seen you gave it an effort, you moved on to the next site, and they're happy with it. And like I said, I've been out there in several areas that we barely touched on, and knowing personally that there's more oil down there, saying something about it. Hey, I thought we were going back to that spot, we didn't get it all. Oh no, it's good, we got it all. You know, and like I said, you start making waves and you end up losing your job or what have you. And you know, granted at the time that was giving me work and giving me a paycheck that I could use and my bills could use and this, that, and the other. So I mean, to go against the grain at that point, I might have lost everything I worked so hard for over the years, like my house and, you know, everything else I owned, and, you know, so, I mean, you know, it's a catch-22 situation. You just...
So you think a lot of workers don't come forward because they have mortgages and kids,
right,
and they don't want the threats and lose their career?
Definitely, that's the main reason. I mean, that's your job, you know, that's your paycheck. It's like you work anywhere, you see things go on that you know, you disapprove of, but you kind of got to bite your tongue, you know, just to save your likelihood of you know, work and this, that, and the other, and paychecks, and, you know, I'm just trying to be as, you know, forward and honest and as I can be about it. But like I said, I don't like the fact that they come and crapped on that area and just, you know, did a half-assed job of cleaning it up, and everybody's supposed to be happy about it, and, you know, not raise a stink about it. You know, if there's more people raising a stink about it, you know, it might go somewhere further. But, you know, the more disasters they have all over the place, people are finally realizing, hey, wait a minute, you know, something's got to be done, you know.
So, am I getting anything done?
Yeah, well, I'd say you got pretty effective footage and pretty effective travels, but, I mean, well, you just need to, I don't know, I mean, I don't think you can get all the places you need to get to and reach out to all the people you need to reach out to, you know. I mean, it's financially, because you can't, you know, can't afford it for one, but like I said, it's, I mean, for what you've done so far has really impressed me as far as what you've gathered and all the time and work, and, you know what, it's been a couple years now or something. Yeah, it's been about 2.5 years now that I've been working on this. Time. I mean, I get phone calls, he'll be in Washington, or I'll get a phone call, he's in Louisiana, you know, this, that, and the other, giving us updates who he's up against. I know the kind of money they got, you know. I know at any point, at any time, at any day, you know, you might not get that phone call anymore. And that's sad but true, but that's the way them big wigs do it. You know, if you're costing them too much money, it's cheaper to do away with you than it is to pay out more money, bottom line.
Do you, I've had workers in the past say that I'm like a locomotive against these oil companies instead of a squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
How much of an effect do you think I have on the cleanup process in Battle Creek, Michigan after the spill?
Oh, I know after the spill and after you were no longer with us, we'd sit around with some of the foremen out there, and they'd say, man, where's that Johnny at? We're running out of work. Next thing you know, he's hit an area, he's found it, he's made us think about it, and we got a whole new work schedule lined out for the next week or two. And, you know, it got to where, you know, some of the foremen that were actually fighting against him started, you know, asking and praying that he'd find some more stuff so they could keep getting paychecks. And it wouldn't be long that he'd find another area, and it was that easy to keep finding it. But like I said, all he had to do was find it, and we'd work a couple more weeks. So we were kind of, I don't know, it's kind of beneficial he was out there for us. I mean, when it comes to money, per se, because he'd find us more work, and they'd put us out there on them same spots he just complained about. It was just amazing how he was just there, and all of a sudden we're there cleaning it now.
So I don't know about a lot of this. I would like to know more. So I would make a video of a spot that was dirty, full of oil, that they said was clean already, and you guys were already done with, and then all of a sudden, you guys
we're back in them areas again. And like I said, there was even talk of one of the, I can't remember the foreman's name, but he was, I remember like you guys was having your court proceedings or whatever, he was lying about this, that, and the other. But it was funny because before all that happened, your courts and all that other stuff, he, you know, after you was terminated, he was one of the ones that, you know, was quick to run you down. But it was just funny how he flip-flopped into being one of the ones that was like, man, where's that Johnny at? I wish he'd find us another spot so we can keep working. You know, it's amazing.
Do you remember the supervisor's name that was talking bad about me and then all of a sudden was supporting me?
I think his name was Sean Decker. That's who it was. Yep.
And so what did he say? What was he saying before I was fired, and what was he saying after I was fired?
Oh, before you were fired, I know. I remember there was a conversation about a bar incident or something where he was getting all mouthy or something or another, and Dave Hostra or something like that was up there too, and he was trying to calm the situation where there's all that beef going on. But I mean, he disliked you, and then it was funny because after you terminated and time went on, you know, he made his jokes about you or whatever. Oh, there's Johnny, and he'd hold his camera up and, you know, act like he's filming. But then he got to where, you know, we were running out of work, and he would find out that you found a spot, and then we were going to hit it, you know, off of your punch list or whatever, and then, you know, it was dwindling down, and then he's like, man, I wish Johnny would go find some more work, you know, I'd like to at least work till Christmas. And then it would be a couple days later, we heard that you had found some other stuff, you know, and then we were back there knocking them spots out. It got to be kind of funny, and then it would become a co-worker joke about getting you out there to get us some more work. So
basically, I've had workers before saying that I was causing issues because I was videotaping the areas, but and I know that's not true. I know I'm just trying to find the oil, but you're saying as a worker that I was creating more work for all the workers.
You were generating more work for everybody is what was going on, and it took a minute for everybody to realize that. But as soon as you reported certain areas, next thing you know, we're cleaning them areas. You got to put two and two together, and like I said, then become a co-worker kind of joke was about getting you back out there when we knew we only had a couple days left of these certain areas. We was hoping and praying you was out there beating down another spot for us to get some more work. Well, it just so happens that they tried to use a certain story against you on stealing gasoline when you were given permission from a yard boss to get it, and that kind of got thrown, you know, blown back in their face. But that's what they had to go on. They couldn't say, well, we're firing John Bolenbaugh because he's, you know, out there trying to really do his job, and we don't really want to do the right thing. I mean, you can look at it however you want, but you were terminated because they were trying to get away with something and trying to smudge numbers and try to, you know, get the EPA to go their way and sign off all these areas. And what was funny, reminds me, is that we was at a little creek area behind a trailer rental place, and there's certain flag colors they had up, and those flag colors mean a certain thing. There's no variance to they can mean this or that. It's set in stone as to what they mean. And then there's your charts to show you your
because you're an environmental inspector, you know these colors.
Your alignment sheets be, you know, flagged, or the keys in them will show you what means. Well, them flags that I know of meant a certain thing. If, you know, your red flag was okay, it's there. The area, the caution flag was okay, it's under construction. The green always means it's good, signed off.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we approached that area that day, and it had all them flags. It even had the green flag there saying that EPA and everybody signed off. I don't know if ag monitors were in on it, or, you know, who all was involved in signing off on it, but they had the flag there, plain as sight, plain as day, and then come to find out, oh, no, that all them colors were changed. The green no longer means that it's good to go. It just means that, you know, blah, 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 whatever they wanted to make up as they went along. Well, you can't do that. In any effective, you know, work order, you can't just change things as you go, because it'll be a big catastrophe. Green means everything's signed off, it's done. Red means stop.
When I made all these videos for several months saying that green means it's cleared. Look at the green flags in this area. Look at all the oil that's still there. So you're saying that you personally saw them change the colors because I was proving oil was still there in cleared areas.
And all of a sudden them flags didn't mean what they used to mean. They mean something else now. So, like I said,
was that considered a cover-up?
Well, that's what else you want to call it. I mean, there's change it as you go, change the game as you go. You know, I mean, it's just to benefit them. Okay, oh, wait a minute, yeah, that's green. Well, no, we didn't sign off on that. That means this now. You know, and they shuffle through their paperwork and everything and get everything changed up so that if you do say something about it, then they go back like, look, we changed it. Or no, they wouldn't say they changed it. They would just show you, no, this is the way it's always been. Green has never meant good. But like I said, in corporate America is going to do whatever they want for as long as they want. They got the money, they got the power. We're just little people, you know.
Can you tell me about what's up with the security? Now, the security was following me around a lot and trying to keep me out of areas. What's your opinion as a worker, as an inspector, in the past, your qualifications, so you know what's up? Why do you think that they were following me and stuff?
Well, because it wasn't for your safety, it was for their pocketbooks. You know, I mean, if they had you in an area and they know if you get in there, you're going to look a whole lot better than the people that are in there looking to begin with because you're out to prove a point. If you get in them set areas, you're going to cost them more money. So let's make it a point to keep Mr. Bolenbaugh out of all these properties so that he can't get in there and cost us more money. That's how it turned out. I mean, they can say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. I know the facts. The facts are keep you out of there. Keep their pocketbooks better. Because once you get in there and you find stuff, means they're going to get, you know, you're going to tell somebody, then they're going to have to go clean them spots more.
So when I made a video public and showed tar sand oil in different areas, I costed the company more money. So that's why they wanted security and the police and everybody. Why did they keep calling the cops? Why did they have security following me?
They use that as a scare tactic, as far as I'm concerned. If they bring the law into play, that maybe you would shudder and be like, oh, well, I don't want to get in trouble with the police. And when, I mean, you know your rights, and they didn't realize you know your rights, and they thought that they could play that card on you, it was going to work, but they found out down the road that doesn't work. And you know, I don't know, like I said, I know for a fact the reason they passed your picture around so everybody knew your face and knew the vehicle you were driving is so that they could keep you off the areas if they could, just so that you didn't find more cover-up, more of leaves and dirt being thrown over oil spots, because that's what you were looking for. You're trained to look for that now, and you can find that sort of stuff. And if they let you in there, you were going to find that kind of stuff, and that's a guilty measure they had, was let's just try and keep them out.
So when I got arrested for watching them dig up oil on a site, at a site, Talmadge Creek, and I was actually arrested, went to jail for this. Enbridge did not show up to court to fight this because we were prepared to show a jury the buried oil, the videos, the documentation, the documents. We were prepared for all that. Why do you think Enbridge had me arrested, then they didn't show up for court?
Well, because like I said, it probably boils down to a scare tactic. They're going to just, you know, scare you into thinking that you're going to get in trouble for doing what you're doing, and they really can't back up their trespassing claims when you were literally finding stuff everywhere. I mean, they knew that you were finding stuff. They knew you probably had some film footage of why you were there, and putting you in jail or whatever, trying to get you arrested for trespassing. It was, like I said, it was more of a scare tactic trying to get you off the scene. But like I said, I mean, there are a lot of areas there that they personally purchased so they could call it their own property to keep you out of there, because if it remained in a landowner's hands, all you have to do is go talk to the landowner and say, hey, you know, I got issues with this oil being left on your property, and then of course they're concerned with oil being left on their property, and of course you're going to get their permission to be back there, and then Enbridge can't do nothing about it because you have landowner permission to be on their property.
So you think that they purchased property that was full of oil just so they didn't have to clean it up?
So that it's cheaper to buy a chunk of ground for $30,000–$40,000 than it is to pay a crew to go in there, and what, you know, wherever it may be, if it entails using airboats that I heard they were paying $2,000 to $3,000 a day to use these airboats. They just soon buy that property for a little bit amount of money instead of spending a lot of money to get all this equipment moved in there, and all these workers have to be paid, and all this equipment move around has to be paid, and you know, it just turns into a big chunk of money. So if they could buy it, isolate it, okay, it's their property, you can't go on there, done deal. That's a big chunk that they saved in money by spending a little
So
bit of money.
they bought this property to keep the area full of oil, so they didn't have to clean it up, and to keep me off the property.
Right, and they can keep everybody at bay that doesn't need to be there because it's theirs, and it's their permission you seek to go on their property. And of course, you're not going to get it because they don't want you there.
Now you've seen Enbridge on videos block me into a parking lot with several trucks and security.
Scare tactics. They're just trying to scare you. But I know you personally, and you don't scare easy. It's just you're not going to stop. And there's nothing they're going to do that's going to stop you. Like I said, you're just you go and go and go like the Energizer Bunny, and they ain't stopping you.
Who hasn't stopped me?
Any of them. Whoever's attempted to. Enbridge employees, Enbridge themselves, security personnel, any of the construction worker foremans out there. Nobody can. I mean, you're not going to be deterred by anybody because you're on a mission. You're going to get this job done no matter what it takes, and you're just determined. And they've never seen determination like they've seen now. So
am I doing something that's unprecedented?
I'd say what you're doing, like I said, I take my hat off to you. I commend you because you're giving it 110% to where there's not a lot of individuals like you that would go as far as you're going to make it happen, to which, like I said, I commend you for it. Get into the fact that reminded me of your work you're doing is the Josh Fox work, you know, with all the hours and the one-on-ones and the, you know, getting into all the videos and the proof and documentations, you know, and things of that nature. It just reminds me so much of the Gasland movie.
Do you think I should make a movie about this?
I think you are making a movie about this.
Well, I mean, should I take a lot of the video I got and edit it together and make a film like Gasland?
You could. You probably got enough footage now to make an hour movie. Hour and a half movie, and it's, I mean, granted, it's something people would want to see. You know, it's a curiosity, just like Gasland. There's that curiosity there. There's that, oh my gosh, is this real? Is this really happening? You know, and like I said, when it doesn't happen in your backyard, you got no idea. You just go with the flow like everybody else in America. You just, you know, take a problem when it happens and deal with it. You don't foresee things. You don't worry about what's going to happen or anything. It's just, that's our nature. When something happens, you deal with it. You know. I don't know. I think if it was brought to more people's attention, more people might be aware of the impacts of it. They might care a little more. You know, granted, if it lasts that week after they've seen it, or it lasts, you know, has a lasting impression on them, it's definitely effective.
Okay.
Well, I think the spill, for one, has been disastrous. I think, two, they could have did a way better job cleaning it up the first time instead of dragging it on for 2 years trying to clean it up. I think what you're doing is totally commendable. I think that I wish more people had your drive and had your ambition to take care of, you know, said issues, because it is, I mean, it is an importance that people realize the impacts of what this tar sand oil is. I mean, you can sit back in your cozy house 300 miles away from it and not care, you know, two shakes about it because it's not affecting you personally, but it is affecting your fellow humans. It is affecting maybe a loved one that could live in that area. And until it affects you personally, you're not going to care as much. Well, it did affect John personally. It hit his backyard. His mother lived right along that river. It you know, had a great deal to do with his thought on, you know, humanity in itself, that people shouldn't do this to one another, and it drives him to want to make a change, you know. And you need more people to make changes. You need more people to care enough to prevent things like this from happening, and there are measures to prevent things like this from happening. Don't act like there isn't. There's ropes and steps you can go through for preventative measures, and John by far has took this and ran with it. And like I said, I commend him. I take my hat off to him because he is passionate about it. And there's one thing I've seen he's cared about in his whole life has been this right here, and it's not for his own personal gain. It's for his environment. It's for the people around him. It's for sick people. I mean, because he cares. He has heart. And if you can't see that through everything he's done, you know, basically out of his own pocket, who else would do that? I don't have the money to do that. I wouldn't even find the money to do that because, you know, I got 4 kids. I got a wife, I got mortgages, I got things to take care of, which I couldn't, you know, go into this kind of depth to where he has and financially afford it. But somehow he's pulled it out. I don't know.
Well, I've used my life savings. I used my unemployment checks after I got fired, all to document this.
So I said all his own money. It's just, I couldn't, I mean, and to not reach a pile of money. He's not after money. He's after getting his point across that they did us wrong. It shouldn't happen to anybody else anywhere on the planet. And it's just, you know, fundamentally right for him to crusade like this. I mean, it's I take my hat off to him.
So S.E.T. settled with me for a small amount, which they could have paid me well over $3 million. Now, they settled with me, but I have no gag order, which is unprecedented. Have you ever heard that before?
Nope.
All right. So, and I've talked to a lot of attorneys. To not have a gag order is very, very rare. But I refuse to have that. Now, why do you think S.E.T. settled with me?
Well, S.E.T. went and didn't want to take it to court and have it become press and have it become nationwide and have their company, you know, blemished, basically. I mean, as a company owner, you don't want to be dragged through the mud. You don't want to, you know, people to find out that your company isn't on the up and up and didn't, you know, do what they're supposed to do, you know, as an environmental standpoint, opposed to their being told, you know, by the higher ups what to do. I mean, to perform as an environmental company, you have to perform under environmental circumstances, not under financial circumstances. You have to be in it with heart to really, you know, to really look out for your environment, not to be misled by, you know, let's say bribes or threats or anything like that to go the higher ups way.
Now, me taking this settlement on one condition, two conditions actually. One, I have no gag order. Two is that S.E.T. is going to have their guys testify to the truth that Enbridge told them to release me and that oil was told to be covered up by Enbridge management. What do you think about them settling, and what do you think about them actually helping me go against Enbridge?
Well, I think they definitely owed you a great deal of apology for letting you go, for doing your jobs. All you did your job. They had to do what they were told apparently, or they were going to lose financially, which I don't agree with. Them settling out of court with you instead of going to court, you know, basically that's a form of guilt right there. There ain't no two ways about it. You know, that's what a lot of movie stars and things do to keep things out of court, is they'll do cash settlements so that the public eye doesn't catch wind of it. It's the same thing S.E.T. did. They settled with you for a set amount of money. You know, granted, you don't have any money, so apparently it wasn't nothing to speak of to begin with. And I don't know. I mean, just I'm sorry that it had to come to that, but
the money that I got from S.E.T. I actually bought $10,000 in T-shirts, $5,000 in signs and bumper stickers.
And who does that? But besides somebody that's compassionate about what they're doing.
Right, and I spent a lot more than that, but those are a few things. And yeah, this is my heart. This is I have a purpose in life now. I feel I prayed to God and I have just did what I feel is the right thing. Right. And I hope that He's given me some direction in this crusade that I have. That's what everybody says that I'm doing, is a crusade. I just think that it's the right thing to do, and I'm real proud of myself because it was hard to give up my job, my career.
There's a lot out there that's proud of you too.
Now,
you may not know it, but
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, do you think that I can't get hired in to work on these oil lines anymore because of this? Am I being blackballed by the industry?
There's definitely a blacklist. I know it personally. I know there is one. I know that there's people on it, and you're probably on it by far because they know that you don't go with the flow. You go against the grain if the grain's needed to be gone against, because this is clear evidence right here that you're not going to lay down and just let them walk over you. Corporate America isn't going to stomp on you. You're going to stand up for what's right, and you're going to stand up for the right way. Like I said before, I believe in the right way. I mean, it's just, there's no other way that there can be. It's got to be the right way the first time.
Can you tell me about the Enbridge oil spill, what the evacuation procedure should have been for these type of chemicals?
Well, what I know is that their evacuation plan read 1,000 feet minimum distance is a safe distance. And then I also heard that they were going around telling people it was 200 feet was the minimum, which was a big lie, because 1,000-foot minimum, and depending on time of day as well, if you're familiar with chemicals and you're familiar with the ceiling, which is like in normal daily time, the ceiling is 10,000 feet, which aviation uses that for flying, but at nighttime it drops, therefore it locks chemicals lower to where they can't just escape into the atmosphere like it can in the daytime. At nighttime, the minimum probably decreases maybe to 100 feet, it could be. I'm not sure, but I know for a fact that it was 1,000 feet, and I know for a fact also they were misleading all these people and telling them it was 200 feet, which right there, I mean, that's just blatant disregard for human health. I mean, you can look however you want to, but that's the way I look at it. I mean, just to flat lie to somebody and tell them no, 200 feet, because right in the back of their house is a river, which happens to be 200 feet, without them having to pay for their stay at a hotel or whatever. They just tell them no, it's 200 feet, when in reality it's 1,000 feet. Therefore, they should have been taken right out of there, put in the hotels, and taken care of until the mess was cleaned up, or the air was adequate enough to actually breathe.
So there was a lot of people that breathed in these toxic chemicals that were thousands of times the toxic levels, the legal toxic levels, and Enbridge basically lied to everybody, so they didn't have to pay for hotel rooms and lawsuits.
Exactly.
Saying it was 200 feet, but really it was supposed to be 1,000 foot.
So many residents that were within 200 feet of the river, they come up with a 200 foot so that they didn't have to replace all these people in the hotels and accommodate them, and all their funds would have to be, you know, I mean, you're talking what, $100 a night easy for a hotel room, and you're talking about families that have kids, you're looking at $150, you know, for doubles and maybe 2 rooms, and you know, as far as that goes, okay, now it's cheaper, let's just tell them it's 200 foot evacuation, you guys are fine, you can stay right here, when in turn their house is getting filled up with crap that you should never have to breathe, and you know, just over a few dollars. It just, I don't know, it's just wrong.
So Enbridge basically lied to everybody, misleading them.
Not basically, they did.
What did they do? What did Enbridge do?
Enbridge lied to residents, flat lied to them, telling them it was 200 foot minimum evacuation distance from a large spill, which if anybody knows and has read up on it, it's 1,000 feet, and probably further than that, depending on, you know, the severity of the spill. So I mean, if you tell people it's 200 feet just to benefit yourself, there's nothing else to but to call it a lie. It's a flat lie. I can't believe that guy said that was mud.
What are you talking about?
The guy that when you had it in your hands and like this, and you washed your hands off and held them up again, and all that tar sand was stuck to your hands. Oh, that's mud. That's mud.
Oh, you mean when Enbridge was on the news saying that I was in mud?
Yeah. And no, clearly it was not mud. And if anybody's ever been in direct contact with this stuff, they know it's like Play-Doh that's tacky and will stick to anything and will not just, you can't even wipe it off unless you got a gasoline to break it down to get it off of you. It's not going to work.
Right. So when he said, I mean, I was falling in it in the middle of the winter. You're from Michigan. Wouldn't that ground be frozen?
Well, it depends on the severity of the temperature.
It was about 7-8 degrees.
You'll get a frost on the top that starts, and depending on the time of the year, per se, sometimes you get up to 12 inches of solid. I mean, we drive trucks up there on lakes in the wintertime because the ice is that solid. But for that area there to not freeze, you can only mean one of two things. There's a substance in the soil that's creating heat, preventing it from freezing, or there's flowing water that a lot of people know, unless you're in frigid temperatures, flowing water will not freeze. So.
And in that area, it was not flowing water. It was just plain
standing ground, and you should have been able to walk across that with no problem. You could have rode a 4-wheeler across it, no problem.
So when I fall into it up to my waist, then what do you, I mean, just looking at that, what do you feel?
I know it's under there is soup. Or it's just soup. You know, and there's a chemical in it that's producing heat, or a chemical in it that will not freeze. Because like I said, up there you could ride a 4-wheeler on frozen ground. You know, even I have low-lying areas on my property, which isn't that far from there, that is always saturated, and yet in the wintertime it's dry and frozen because of ice drying it up.
So the Enbridge official that
whoever spouted off that you were in mud and that stuff won't freeze regardless is full of it.
But one former worker is doing everything possible to get his story out there.
The creek's right over here.
A former worker blowing the whistle on Enbridge takes News Channel 3 on a tour of sites he claims still have oil, but the company is not coming back to clean up. John Bolenbaugh still finds ice packed with oil and is making strong accusations against the company.
They were trying to meet deadlines. So what they would tell us to do is take dirt, put it over the top of the oil. They were telling us to take mud with oil and throw it into the woods. They were telling us to rake dirt over the top of oil.
And he says because he wouldn't do those things, he was fired in October after 2 months on cleanup operations. But Bolenbaugh believes the so-called smoking gun is near Talmadge Creek in Ground Zero in Marshall.
I just wanted to prove that this is all oil. It is all oil. This is not mud. Mud will freeze. They put this canvas over the top of it. This is just plain old canvas. They put grass seed underneath it, and what's supposed to happen is the grass will grow through.
He's accusing Enbridge of using a coconut matting to cover up obvious oil, with the company having no thoughts of ever cleaning these areas up. The project director was scheduled to go out to the site with us, but said a significant issue came up. So we showed him our video.
No, that is not oil. That's sediment. The video, the individual does not need even oil. It's obvious that this was taken in a wetland area where the sediment is saturated with water. It's mud.
I want to thank you for watching this video. I want to keep doing this. I'm at a crossroads in my life. I've been on this crusade for over 2 years now, and I've spent all my money, my life savings. I've sold pretty much everything I own, and I love doing this. This is my job. This is what I do 60 to 80 hours a week. Even when I'm supposed to be on vacation, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing 3 radio shows a week. I'm on TV. I'm telling the world about this. I can't even go to the grocery store without telling the cashier about the oil spill. So please, if you could help me, $5, $10, whatever you can afford. If I can just get a few people that can help me do this, I can travel around the country, give speeches. I can make a documentary about this. I can go videotape and interview some scientists and some professionals so I can get their side of the story. Please help me help us. And what is your name, please?
Deb Miller.
Hi, Deb. What's your opinion on all this?
I'm not surprised. We've said from the beginning that we didn't believe that it could be cleaned up. And it looks good from a distance, but time will only tell what we're really going to be left with. So,
what's Enbridge been telling you?
Enbridge has told us, well, the EPA has told us that this was going to be cleaned up, at least phase 1, by October 31st. That's today. And look what you have on your hands.
Yeah, definitely not clean. Not even close. They got millions of dollars they're gonna have to spend. Get it out of your pockets, Enbridge, because we're not quitting until it's clean.